Rip, rip, rip. Remember, sir, I am not okay. Baby on the hell. And I don't even try to tell. I know I can be the only ones. But I can't. Cause it's all said and done. It's not gonna be alright. Come on, yesterday. I always stay in bed. Let's see how many people would join us. So the devil's at my back. Voices in my head. I know I can't be the only one. Who cares about the life? I know I can't, cause it's all said and done. I'm not okay. We're all gonna be alright. On yesterday, I'll always stay in bed. There's a hi Sean B. I just started. I started like a few seconds ago, so.
The Pima County Sheriff thinks that whoever went into Nancy Guthrie's house knew what they were after. He thinks this was targeted. Law enforcement is digging deep as the search for the 84-year-old stretches into yet another day.
Why do people
The sheriff
think this is
admits
targeted
the suspect or suspects, they've made it hard on the hundreds of investigators working this case. But I will tell you, what they may have believe that the bad guys might not be prepared for. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Hugh.
Hi, King.
Genetic genealogy, that's a phrase a lot in the case of Nancy Guthrie today.
Yep.
And when I heard that term, I thought about this case.
I don't know how to answer and go into. I don't want to incriminate myself with questions. You guys are professionals. I'm not. I don't know. I really do think I need an attorney. I need to use the phone and I need to call someone and I need legal representation.
How you doing?
I respond to anything else.
Okay, that's fine. We're not going to ask you any more questions. There's no tears coming out of your face.
I'm very dry right now.
You're dry?
I'm very dry. I'm parched. I'm dehydrated. You can probably see my eyes are bloodshot red because I'm just tired and
Hi,
drained.
Amy.
I don't know what's going on. You want me to drink water so I can tear? Like,
No,
what's the problem here?
I don't want you to tear. I just don't
What
want
are you
you
trying to
to.
say?
I'm just trying to say that this seems a little put on.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh my God.
Now, that is the interrogation from a case out of Maryland, unrelated to Nancy Guthrie, but it was a murder case that was solved using technology that investigators are turning to in the search for Nancy Guthrie. And we will break down that case, how it all went down in just
They did that in the
minute.
Brian
As
Goldberg
far as
case.
Nancy Guthrie and what we know today, that long-awaited DNA test result came back, and it does not seem to be the smoking gun that so many people had hoped for. You had gloves that were found 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home on the side of the road. those did not match anyone in CODIS, the FBI's national database.
CODIS.
DNA found inside
I remember
of Nancy Guthrie's
CODIS.
home. We don't know on what the DNA is, but that sample did not hit on CODIS either.
CODIS.
We know that DNA from the house, it doesn't belong to Nancy. It also doesn't belong to members of her family. The CODIS database, it's important to note, only has the profiles of people who have been convicted of crimes or arrested. So we are talking about a pretty small part of the population.
Yeah.
The sheriff now says investigators
You have
will
to be
turn to this
arrested
new
to
type
be part of
technology
CODIS.
called genetic genealogy, and it could be huge in this case. Before we dive into that, let's talk about something very interesting that the sheriff of Pima County said.
Hi,
in his
everybody.
most
Please hit
recent
that like and
round of
subscribe button.
one-on-one interviews with media outlets. Sheriff Chris Nanos says that he believes that the person who you see on Guthrie's front steps in the surveillance video had a target in mind. He also said that this individual, they have made it tough for his investigators, but he says that they are not going to give up. Now, the sheriff went on to say that they're now looking into whether clothing items, including that mask you see the suspect wearing, was purchased at Walmart. Now, the jacket, that appears to be a Walmart item, though it is not exclusively sold there. But I think the mask could be really huge in this case, because you just think of the climate in Tucson. How many people are buying masks like the one we see in the surveillance video? Now, we know that law enforcement have been working with Walmart to try to figure out who might have purchased items that the suspect is wearing. And that backpack is also a big clue because it is only sold at Walmart, no other store. The clothes, they may also be Walmart buys. Now, the sheriff told the media that
Why
the time
Walmart?
frame on the backpack purchase, and he said this in kind of a conversational way, it could be 20 days ago, it could be 60 days ago as they look back through Walmart's records. Now, the sheriff added in an interview with NBC News that the suspect may also be wearing a ring in the video on the front steps of the house. And then you have that gun holster on his waist. That is somewhat unique. It appears to be a cheap one that you can get at Walmart as well as other stores. Speaking of other stores, the FBI has been going to gun stores in the Tucson area, reportedly with a list of dozens of people and pictures asking if they had been to the stores in the last year. This is according to Fox News, which interviewed a gun store owner who said that agents asked if any of those people on the list look like the person you see in the surveillance video. And again, the time frame is the last year. That person told Fox News, the owner of the gun store, that many of the people had facial hair similar to what we can see in that surveillance video. Now, it is unclear who's on the list, why they're on the list, and also what's behind that last year time frame. That seems like a pretty wide net as investigators continue to try to solve this case. So I now want to talk about genetic genealogy testing. That is a major part of the conversation today in the Nancy Guthrie case. You have this DNA from Nancy Guthrie's home. We don't know whose DNA it is. We don't know if it is DNA connected to the person that you see on her front porch, but we do know it didn't have a match in CODIS, that FBI database that only contains the DNA profiles of people who have been convicted of crimes or arrested. So it is a very small part of the population. Now, the sheriff says that law enforcement will turn to other techniques, including genetic genealogy testing, which is relatively new technology. And it's not as straightforward or quick as it may sound.
No, you can't. You just can't show up one time and ask to be mod.
A major
doesn't work that way.
In fact, we talked about a case on this show not too long ago that you may remember that used this technique to crack a cold case that went unsolved for 24 years.
I don't know how to answer and go into. I don't want to try to incriminate myself with questions. You guys are professionals. I'm not. I don't know. I really do think I need an attorney. I need to use the phone and I need to call someone and I need legal representation before I respond to anything else.
Okay, that's fine. We're not going to ask you any more questions. There's no tears coming out of your face.
I'm very dry right now.
You're dry?
I'm very dry. I'm parched, I'm dehydrated. You can probably see my eyes are bloodshot red because I'm just tired and drained. I don't know what's going
How you
on.
very dry?
You want water so I can tear? Like,
No,
what's wrong with you?
I don't want you to tear. I just don't
What are
want
you
you
trying to say?
I'm just trying to say that this seems a little put on.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh my God.
So this is interrogation video from last year involving a man named Eugene Gligor. He pleaded guilty in 2025 to the murder of Leslie Prier in 2001. Leslie Prier was his girlfriend's mom.
Wow.
She was found beaten to death inside her home outside Washington, D.C.
I remember
in
this
Chevy
case.
Chase, Maryland. This case went cold for nearly a quarter century until genetic genealogy DNA testing came around, and this is how it played out. There was male DNA found under Leslie Prier's fingernails. It showed that she fought for her life. Investigators, though, they weren't able to identify whose DNA it was for years until these advancements came around, where law enforcement can take a DNA sample, that profile, and then compare it to publicly available genetic databases. Think like 23andMe or Ancestry.com, those places where you can submit a DNA sample and it tells you your ancestry and you can find loved ones. But when it comes to solving cases, it has become a very valuable tool. And it may be in the case of Nancy Guthrie. Now, in the Maryland case, law enforcement compared their sample and they found, as they built out a family tree, the highest match being to a man named Gligor, but he lived in Romania. He was a distant cousin of the person who had become a suspect in this case. Now, as law enforcement in Maryland went through this case file, they saw the name Gligor, and it was someone who a neighbor had mentioned that investigators should look into all the way back in 2001, but for some reason, law enforcement didn't do that. Now they felt like they had a really good lead with this genetic genealogy DNA test that they did. So they identify Eugene Gligor, and then they put some surveillance on him. They followed him to an airport, and without him knowing, grabbed a water bottle that he threw away, and they took the DNA from that water bottle and tested it. That DNA was a match to the sample taken off of Leslie Prier 24 years prior. Eugene Gligor was then taken into custody. And this is the part of that interrogation video where the detectives lay out to Eugene how the process works and why they say he was linked to this murder.
So from the crime scene, we have DNA from the person who was there when Leslie died. So there's Leslie's blood all over the place, obviously, but then there's also another DNA profile that was picked up from the crime scene. And we had put that into CODIS, our database from the National CODIS DNA Index System, and it has never hit. So whoever was there, whoever's DNA was also on the scene, has never been arrested. And that's why we were going through doing all of these elimination DNA samples to find out, okay, well, this person couldn't have done it because we matched the DNA to it. So we realized that they never talked to you, never did anything, and we wanted to find out more about you. And if there was any kind of situation where you could have been at the house at that time.
I'm a little confused. To find out more and talk to me, why not just call me and ask me to come in and talk to me versus have marshals come and arrest me and bring me in? I'm just confused as to why that's the case.
Eugene Gligor pleaded guilty to the 2001 murder of Leslie Prier. He is currently serving 22 years in prison.
Wow.
And this case, it was one of the more compelling interrogation videos you will see.
Are you kidding me?
He's crying.
No.
Oh my God, you're so full of it. You're after. This is the police. Yes, like it makes sense. It's in your eyes, it's guilty until proven innocent. I get it.
Well, but honey, your DNA was in the crime scene. That's why,
Now, like in that case,
Yep.
in the Nancy Guthrie investigation,
Don't
detectives will
commit
most likely
crimes,
take
especially-
DNA evidence that they
especially
found
murder.
at her home, and then you compare it to family trees and databases and hope that it can build something out that will lead you to identifying who the person is who left DNA inside of Nancy Guthrie's home. In the 2001 case out of Maryland, it did take investigators roughly a year and a half to complete this investigation, so it is not always an easy process. Now, another case where genetic genealogy had success was in the murder case involving Brian Kohberger, of course, the man who killed 4
Yeah.
University of Idaho students inside of their home. Koberger left that knife sheath in a bed, and there was DNA on it, and investigators were able to link that sheath to Brian Koberger through a family connection. The sheriff says that high-tech companies are helping them piece together this case. He says even Meta and Apple have reached out to help. He also says that they're working with the manufacturer of Nancy's pacemaker to see if they can help track where it went. We know that it disconnected from her iPhone in the early hours of the morning on February 1st, and that is the last time on the time frame that she has some sort of contact, according to law enforcement. Law enforcement is also using what is conversationally known as a signal sniffer. It's technology that can be mounted to a drone or a helicopter, and it can try to pick up signals on the ground. Maybe it's a cell phone, maybe it's a pacemaker. So the tech is mounted on a drone or a helicopter and they have to fly very low and very slow over a targeted area. We have been told that it's not something you can use to like scan an entire city, and this is relatively new technology. Law enforcement is continuing to also show up at Nancy Guthrie's home. It is unclear what they're looking for at this point. The sheriff says that we also should expect to see more operations, like the one that we saw last weekend when a SWAT team raided a home and had a dramatic traffic stop within miles of Nancy Guthrie's home. They detained at least one person. That person has been released. No arrests have been made at this point. And it's also unclear what evidence they may have taken in a federally approved search warrant from that house, though the sheriff says they continue to analyze what was taken from the home. The sheriff also says that investigators continue to track down thousands of leads, and he would not characterize the case of Nancy Guthrie as cold. He wants the public to continue to submit those tips of anything they think can help in this case. The FBI is offering that $100,000 reward for information into finding Nancy Guthrie or the person or people who took her. Join us now to talk more about this case is retired FBI special agent and former prosecutor Lance Lysing.